Thank you for tuning in. You're watching The Property Guide and ET Now. I'm Faye D'Souza. We have such a packed show for you today. On this show, we're going to draw up a checklist of legal and financial aspects to keep in mind with property redevelopment. We'll also answer your questions. And later on the show, we'll sit down with Nitesh Estates to find out what their project pipeline looks like for the new year. Now remember, you can send in any question you have about buying property, whether it's finding the right property, getting clearances, or even getting a loan. Send it to us on the Property Guide at et-now.com. Markets up for discussion on the show this week. Faridabad and Noida extension in the NCR, Neemrana in the new industrial corridor and the outer ring road of Bangalore. Joining us today on the show, Arvind Nandan, the Executive Director, Consultancy Services at Cushman Wakefield, and in our Noida studio, Karthik Verma, co-founder of PropTiger.com. But I'm going to get to the main point of our show right now, and that's redevelopment. As land in our cities becomes a scarce commodity, developers, especially in Mumbai and Delhi, are opting for redevelopment of older buildings as a solution. Now, the developers might be offering incentives that seem attractive, but as homeowners, you should be very, very cautious before striking a deal or signing any papers. Today on the Property Guide, I want to ask our guests to give us a checklist to keep in mind during that entire redevelopment process. Arvind, let's start with you. In Mumbai, in Delhi, and now it's happening in some of the other cities as well, the process of redevelopment might seem daunting for a lot of people who've just been living in their homes for the last 30 or 40 years. There is a lot of grey area about how many people need to agree to the process in order for the building to, go in for redevelopment. Tell us what the legal requirement is right now by law.
So when it comes to redevelopment, a lot of people are thinking of creating some new and up-to-date housing for themselves. The problem begins when people do not know what they're going to get in return and after how much time are they going to get that in return. So the first thing to be noted is to have a very clear-cut assessment of what you will get in return after the redevelopment process. Number two is the process of timing, the point of timing. You need to know after how much time are you going to get something. Number three, and that I think is something which is extremely important, is what happens in the intervening period. Are you sure that you are going to get something which is suitable and almost equitable to what you are surrendering at this point in time during that period? So there are several issues when you look at just the redevelopment process, and each of them requires a very heavy amount of due diligence and a good amount of thought.
Well, Karthik, I want to bring you in here. So this is very interesting. What we've just learned is that the important part is what you're going to get, when you're going to get it, and where you're going to live in the meantime. But there's also the big question of trusting the developer who comes forward and offers to make this deal. How should a homeowner or a society or a group of homeowners make sure that they're making a deal with a good, reliable developer?
Unlike the stock market, past performance counts for a lot in the real estate industry. So if you're dealing with a developer who's had a track record of delivering projects on time and very critically on budget, then you're probably off to a good start. Talk to your friends, relatives, colleagues who might have dealt with a builder of the type that you're dealing with right now. Understand, whether the builder has delivered the product that they've described, at least as far as their vision statement's concerned, and the architectural design and so on, and whether they've delivered that particular product on budget. The fourth thing I'd like to add on top of what Arvind already shared is who takes the brunt of all the cost overruns. We're living in a society where, or rather economy, where costs of steel, cement, and other commodities that go into building infrastructure tends to rise on a very volatile basis every once in a while. Who bears the brunt of that? Is it going to be you, or is that going to be just a cost-plus kind of a contract or something else? So I think that's one of the things that also needs to be looked at with a very, very fine-tooth comb.
For those of our viewers who are watching who perhaps are in a situation where the project is under redevelopment and there has been a delay, what can they do? What's available to them legally?
Again, you need a very good legal counselor and a legal help for you. You can definitely look at certain other commitments that were made at the start of the project, and thereby go and see if you can either do a negotiation on those aspects, or if it is imminent, then go and seek the help of the courts of law.
All right, Karthik, before we wrap up this discussion, could you give us a checklist on the documents that, one must make sure that you have in hand or that the society has in hand when you're entering a deal like this?
Well, every city will have its own regulations and documents required on what needs to happen before a redevelopment can take place. But to start with, you need permission from the municipal authorities that you can indeed engage in some kind of redevelopment. In a city like Bombay, which has a lot of coastal area, there'll be certain coastal regulations that come in as a part of, being a part of the CRZ area. I think secondly, if you're living as a part of a society, then make sure that, under the rules of the society, the right kind of documentation has happened and the right procedures have been followed, where the minimum threshold required to agree for a redevelopment have actually approved on the redevelopment plans. The last thing you want is some kind of infighting among all the different members of the society. But if you look at all the different documents within these three headings, you'll pretty much have a comprehensive list. And like Arvind said, get legal help, because every city will have its own regulatory agencies, because these are all state subjects. And a lawyer who's versed with the local rules and regulations and what the local buttons that need to be pressed are would be of immense value when it comes to understanding that you have all the documents in place so that there's no delays going forward.
All right, so it's important to have a good lawyer on board, and to help you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in our lawyer who's on our panel right now, who will tell you what you should do in case you're in a redevelopment project that's being delayed.
Now, in case of a redevelopment, the society as a body can approach the district court or the high court, and under the specific relief act, the development agreement which contains a penalty clause, that clause needs to be evoked, and the developer is put to a penalty by making and depositing X amount as per the delay in that court, and also subsequent delays, the amounts to be deposited in the court. By this, the builder or the developer, whosoever is constructing a redevelopment project, will be put to task, and he would see to it that as soon as possible he is able to complete the project, so that he is not put to any further financial losses.
All right, so if you have any questions about redevelopment, we'd be glad to take it up again on the show and answer any of your questions. Send them to us. Email IDs are at the bottom of your screen. Let's move on to some questions. Now, Hari Simran has written in, he wants to buy a plot of land or an apartment in Nimrana in Rajasthan with a budget of 20 to 30 lakh rupees. Please give me some options. Now, for someone looking at Nimrana, we know it's on that industrial corridor. Does it make more sense to buy a plot or an apartment?
I would say in this particular kind of an urban setup, where the development is still not that thick and dense, it may be wise to go for a piece of plot. Apartment is always...
What sort of a return do you think he may expect from a plot of land?
Well, from the capital appreciation point of view, I think there is a very significant upside in 5 to 6 years' time, and it could be even in the range of 50 to 60%, if everything goes well.
All right, let's take another question. Muhammad has written in, he wants to buy an apartment in Bhubaneswar in Odisha. He wants to know what locations he should focus on, and if there's any advice you'd like to give him.
Well, Bhubaneswar is one city which I like a lot. It is one of those cities that is trying very aggressively to rejuvenate itself, much like Kochi is doing and certain other tier 3, tier 4 cities are doing in India. The prices at this point in time, are in a very open range, very broad range. So if you have a budget which is from, say, 25, 26 lakhs going up to 55 lakhs or so, you can make a very good investment. I would say Milan Developers, Metro Builders, there is Raj Anand Builders, Green India Infra Projects. So these are some 4 or 5 infra.
Can you give him a location in Bhubaneswar that you think makes sense?
Well, there are quite a few actually. So if you go towards the eastern or the northeastern part of the city, things which are, moving towards Cuttack, those are the belts where you might just want to be, taking a little bit of chance on.
All right, let's take a very quick break. But when we come back, we'll review the Faridabad micro market. We'll also talk a little bit about Bangalore. Karthik and Arvind are going to stay with us. Don't go anywhere.